Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, when my friends in California, we realize, Blanche. Can you hear me? Okay, we realize that the whole gang culture of murder and violence in California literally coincides with when the mass illegal immigration began in the 70s. None of us ever grew up having summer jobs. We never had, places to work, when you would get out of school. 100% of the jobs where I'm from were always occupied by illegals, and we never knew there was a such thing as jobs. I remember when I left California and I went to Arizona to visit, and I seen a black person working at a grocery store and a white person as a teller. I had never seen a white person in a job in my life, and I never seen a black person working a regular job. I'd never seen it. Where I'm, yes, like when you would go to stores, when you would go to the mall. Yes, no, you won't even see white far away. Yeah, but not in the yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. I remember I never had a friend that had a job, and the only ones of us that were fortunate enough to have like jobs and make money were those we like. I worked for my family's company. I worked in my family's business. None of my other friends ever had jobs. The only friends of mine that ever had work were my Mexican friends, and they worked at car shops, body shops. They worked at warehouses, and they would be underage, but they would be able to get jobs because I didn't know this until I was an adult. They were no benefits, working for half the price, but half of the rate is better than zero. So they had a leg up on us forever. So what we did is we started gang banging. We would just run the streets, try to find ways to make money and hit legs. You hustle. Now that jobs are returning to LA, because let me tell you this, there's nobody that's getting off work at 6 o'clock, right? Then they go home, change into a Dickie outfit, put on a rag, and they hit the corner by 8 and they gang bang from 8 to 11. That's not how it works. You're not gang banging in your free time. You're usually working or you're banging. There is no in between. Now that people are having jobs just in the last few months, none of my friends are out there hanging out, banging, they are literally going to work. We've never even had job offers before. 17,000 illegal immigrants had their CDLs revoked last month. One of my friends who's a truck driver who's 17,000. See, look it up right now. Actually, let me bring it up. I was going to bring it up on the here on my screen. I don't know if you can see it. 17,000. Let me see. Can you see that? 17,000 CDLs revoked. So, oh yeah, I'm gonna give it. There we go. Can you see that? It says California revokes 17,000 immigrant CDLs. This is a government sanctioned discrimination. Thousands of legally present immigrant truckers lose their livelihoods overnight. Families, communities, and California's freight economy are at risk. Shut the fuck, man, bro. Listen, these people will say anything to get you to vote against what's in your best interest. What's in the best interest of an illegal immigrant is nowhere near in the best interest of an American who is from here, who lives here. That's propaganda. So my friends who were out of work truck drivers, who sold, he had his own trucking company, ended up selling 2 out of 3 of his trucks. He said his phone won't stop ringing. He's being offered triple. He's on the road right now. Oh, when I tell you I got no less than 20 friends, all drivers, all back on the road right now. Remember, they were just talking about cutting driving jobs and they're going to get rid of them. Now, because of the illegals being gone, they need everybody. I did a story a couple weeks ago about how in Atlanta, Georgia, in your neck of the woods, Home Depot is now offering free trade school. Electricians, plumbing, drywall, paint. They're offering free courses for Americans and putting them back to work. You don't even got to pay to go to trade school and you'll get certified with Home Depot. Why weren't they offering this yet last year, Blanche? See, the thing is, for every one illegal, that's one job that you nor your kids nor your relatives will have. And that goes for voting too. Every one illegal that's here votes illegally, it dilutes the vote of one American. So I tell people, I don't care what your politics are, who's more important, you or someone else? Because worst come to worst, your people have to come first. Your people have to be those who are in your position. If you're an American, your people got to come first versus legal. It's a big. You know what? It's crazy. I was in Mexico a couple years ago, and I was waiting in line to get through customs. I was really hungry, so I came across the border hungry too. Do I get free stuff? I hadn't eaten in hours. I hadn't eaten all day. So where's my Rico check? Bro, you know what's crazy? I used to, I live between the United States and Colombia now, but before I was living in Colombia, I was living in Frankfurt. I was living in Europe. I stopped going to Europe when I seen what they did to my friends during the lockdown. You know how they say they put the boot to you? They shoved that. Oh, they put the boot on my people in Europe. They put the boot branch. The absolute. They were dragging you. Oh yeah, yeah. They was going to the white meat. I remember a friend of mine. He got jammed. They actually went to his house and knocked on his door. They said that he spoke to a woman that was in the grocery store that passed him in the aisle, and they went and knocked on his door. They were trying to do something called contact tracing. They were just practicing. It was practice. I remember being in LA and I went to the Yard House right when lockdown, right when they had that temporary opening back in California. And I go to Yard House and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be a 3 minute wait." I said, "Okay, cool." And they were like, "Can you give us your phone number?" Oh, I'm just gonna sit right here. It's only 3 minutes. They were like, "Yeah, but we need your phone number." Why would you need my phone? It's a 3 minute wait. Why would you need my phone number for? Oh, it's for contact tracing. I grabbed my girl, I left, I never returned to that. Because with contract tracing, what they were going to do is they'll be able to say everybody who was anywhere near your cell phone. They would ping your phone and they would look at other phones around you. And then they would literally go out to these people where they're registered that they live and they would detain them and try to put them in some kind of quarantine. They did it heavy in Australia. They were doing it in Canada. Canada got the boot too. And you know what's crazy about Canada? What? Hey, remember what they did with the Aboriginals and they built those concentration camps? They were going to people in the northern territories that have no human contact, rounding them up and putting them in these camps. They built those camps in Australia and Canada too. I remember Trudeau was a maniac. and they forced compliance on as many Canadians as possible. And it's heartbreaking for me because for example, I do volunteer work with animal rescue. So I help people rescue dogs in the US and they go to homes for people in Canada, because Canada doesn't have a lot of dogs because they made it so euthanasia was easy. You could buy over the counter euthanasia, and people were just killing off stray dogs to the point where they wiped out their dog population in some places. So they would adopt from us in the States. And a lot of the people that adopted from me, they all just started passing away about a year ago, year and a half. So a lot of the dogs, I had to figure out other places for them to live, because a lot of my adopters were people that complied in Canada, and they're all gone. Even the doctors that complied are gone. The nurses didn't do it, but the doctors, some of the doctors did. You know what's crazy is why don't you ask your boy Jordan Peterson how he's doing today? Man, not just him. I did a video. If you go to my page, I did a video last night on YouTube about my origin story. I don't know if you remember 2 years ago, Scott Adams had did a video saying that people like me and you were correct, and that him with all his analytics and data. And now he did a video this morning in his hospital bed. The video I posted before this for Scott Adams was him basically scheduling when he's going to self delete. He's planning on doing euthanizing him, and he actually pushed it off. He was going to kill himself on June 29th, but then he started taking hormone blockers that basically blocks the effects of testosterone, which goes into my theories of what's actually in the jab. And we remember we were going over the Hydra vulgaris, and I told you there's a creature in those things that grows in your body. And I share it on, and they kicked me off of when I brought that up in 2022, they wiped all my new pages. They kicked me off in 2020. Right after me and Blanche met, they wiped my Facebook page where I had 12 years of pictures and it wiped it all. They took off my YouTube at the time because I'm a party guy, right? I party with my friends. No one expects me to have an opinion about nothing. They think I'm just gonna, so when I started asking questions and I shared the Hunter Biden, I'm sharing all the data before the jab comes out, they wiped me on everything. And then I build my stuff back up and they wiped me again. And the second time they wiped me was when I was talking about the Scott Adams situation. And yeah, right now he's in the hospital right now, and he's going live from the bed. Yeah. Oh, I'm gone? Man, dude, I don't know why it keeps doing this with my camera. I'm sitting right. Can you hear me though? Okay, hold on. Let me see. Where did my hold on, I got it. I can let me fix this real quick. This is camera. Okay, that's not helping. Okay, why is this camera not? Man, bro, I don't know what's with this whole camera situation. I have a good camera. I'm using a phone like a lot of people, but for some reason, when I started having these conversations like a day ago, it started glitching like this. I don't know. I don't know. Hold on, let me see. But for now, I'm gonna fix it while we're talking. Let's see here. I'll do this. I'll put a temporary picture in there for now. But yeah, bro. I'm definitely gonna let me fix this camera. I don't know why it's going off. What is it? Where are they? They're not even giving me an error anywhere. Okay, right here. Bro, this is crazy. I'm sitting here talking, and me and you are in separate chats. I, I don't know why. Absolutely. Yeah, cruise missile been rocking for a long time. Shout out cruise missile. Yeah, I don't know why all of a sudden my camera is glitched out. I'm literally sitting here trying to figure. I don't want to have to reset nothing. I don't. Let's see here. I mean, I could do a picture like that until I figure it out. Yeah, I'm like, you know, the thing is, people, hey, I wear a red hat because I never want to forget why I lost my home and all my friends, and I had to leave. I was forced to leave California because of Democrat policies. And the Democrat policies pushed the lockdown. They pushed the mandates. They remember y'all don't know it. We had vaccine passports. You had to have a card that gave away your personal medical information, and somebody else had to look at your medical information and validate it for you to enter in a restaurant, a bar, a club. And when I saw that they were doing that, I was gone. I said I'll never come back to California. And when they started playing the games with the mask in Las Vegas, I said I'll never go back to Vegas. And it's crazy. Vegas is now cooked. California is never going to be the same. Everybody's it's bad. It's people don't know this country is barely holding on by a thread. This country is really bad shape right now. Is it because of my YouTube? Want me to turn it off? Nah, I mean I have my own chat right here, and I have people commenting in my chat, but it's completely separate than yours. Damn, I don't know how I disappeared. That's crazy. Let me see here. This is funny. It's a phone, but it's a phone camera. Oh, maybe my phone is off. No. Oh, yeah. Here we go. There we go. Let me see. Okay, I should be good. Bro, that's a new StreamYard thing. I don't know. Hey, I'm okay. I guess my camera's working again. Okay, let's get into it. You know what? The best way for me to describe it is they're all actors, right? But not every actor can do everything. Dwayne the Rock Johnson is an actor. He plays the Rock in every role, no matter which one he is. But you get an actor like Robert Downey Jr., he can go from Iron Man to the dude in Tropic Thunder, who's a dude playing a dude that's playing a dude. So her range is more so being able to speak to men in an intimate setting and convince them that she's in love with them. She has the range of a really, really good stripper. Her role is not to convince the masses to love her. It's only to convince one or so men at a time in an intimate setting without any other distractions. She's not meant to do public speaking. That's not her job. The fact that they're pulling her back down here to now talk to the masses about to counter everything that Candace is saying means that Candace has struck a nerve and Candace is actually doing damage to their agenda. With everything, with the way I'm learning that everything plays out, all of this is scripted. Everything is fake. None of this is organic. None of this is natural. Everything is being molded or painted like an artist is designing it. Erika was reassigned. That's why she didn't say nothing for a long time. Her new assignment was to get prepared to be the next first lady of the United States. See, this whole thing with JD Vance and Usha, they are breaking up and separating. Now, it was either going to be because Usha comes down with cancer or she's going to break away and leave on her own. But either way, she's out of the picture. And then that's going to bring the rise to Erika Kirk hyphen Vance because she's not going to drop the Kirk last name. She's not going to drop it. But, and then she would eventually be the first lady. I wouldn't doubt it. Bro, let me tell you, that's the scariest. For one thing, you could not get me to go and sit down with the same exact people that I publicly declared war against less than 2 months ago. She said, I want war. Now, these are people that are worth hundreds of millions. They're connected to that country over in the Middle East that we're not supposed to say their name with the man Bibi. They have they're able to pull off assassinations all over the world with impunity. You can't question any assassinations they've ever done, or you're a Holocaust denier. If you say they shouldn't assassinate somebody, you're essentially denying the Holocaust. And you think you can go sit down in a room with them for multiple hours, no cameras, no recordings, and you're going to hope that your security is not already compromised by them. That is a huge mistake. She's saying that she went in there and talked to these people. These people are dangerous. These people are your enemies, and we all can see it. There's nothing new under the sun. We've seen this kind of story play out all over the world in different countries. We have the internet. You can just press rewind. None of this is brand new. Charlie Kirk's not the first man to be assassinated. Charlie Kirk's not the first man to be assassinated by a woman or marry a woman that another person sent to him to become his woman. That's not the first time this has happened. So I don't. And then now she's talking a little bit different. I remember the movie Get Out, and I'm like, there was somebody that just moved the spoon around the lid of a cup and froze you, and they can tell you what to say, what to do. And I remember when she left the meeting yesterday, she sounded a little bit different. And then she's no longer accusing TPUSA about nothing. She had a whole list of lies that she wanted to address. And when she came back from that meeting, she should have went item by item for those lies. She didn't. Now she's talking about everything else but Erika Kirk and those TPUSA liars who we literally all have the videos of them lying. Well, as soon as it happened, I called his wife, and the dude's on the ground. You don't even know the extent of the injuries. Matter of fact, you all kept all the TPUSA people, if you notice, they keep their dark shades on. They don't even take them off to look down at the injury to see how they can stop it. They don't even take their shades off to get a better look. Also, if he's hit here, they lay him down on the side like they're trying to dump it out. They didn't even turn him on the other side to try to hold it in with gravity. You know, you want to you want you want to know what's really Hollywood about this whole situation, Blanche? It's the people they did a blanket. It's weird. They did a blanket um gag order for the entire audience and the police in Provo, Utah. You can look it up. We went over on my live last night. We went over the case details, and they did it's never been done in history of American civilization where you do a blanket gag order that covers thousands of people. The thing is this, the people that were in the audience when it happened, they saw Kirk like shake up like he was being electrocuted, and then he's pushed over. The video we saw, it shows Kill Bill style blood gushing out of his neck. Now, we all know in real life, you don't see blood just gushing out like in the movies, like you said, cinematic. In real life, that doesn't happen. So that's another thing that people are saying, that the people in the audience didn't see that. And that's why you couldn't see nothing on the ground. And there wasn't like a big trail of blood all the way to the car showing that this man is bleeding and blood all over everybody, because there might have not been any blood. Michael McCoy. Mike McCoy. His father is Rob. His father is Rob McCoy, who was pretending to be America's pastor, but he wasn't even Charlie Kirk's personal pastor. He's not even connected to TPUSA, and he lied. His son was covered in blood. Bro, you ever seen? Oh, that's not it, bro. That's not it. There's more stuff that they say that's not true. But let's talk about that. As soon as you heard it didn't sound like a gunshot. It sounded more like a taser clap, clap. And they did the analysis. The sound that they're saying was a gun 200 yards away, the sound was instant. As soon as you heard the clap, you seen Charlie's body. So it seemed like whatever caused that noise was a lot closer to him. Also, why did his t-shirt jump up like that? See, people, it doesn't know. That means there was something under his shirt that did that. So bro, there's so many things going on, and we're just asking questions to piece it together. And these people are coming on the internet saying that you're evil for asking questions. You're evil because you want to know what happened. Because a man that you might have respected or followed or admired is literally allegedly assassinated in front of the world. You're you're demonic because you have questions. Then call me a demon. I question everything. I don't take nothing for face value anymore. I've been lied to too much. When people, I remember somebody showed, I can show the audience. Somebody brought up a picture of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, right? People told me a plane crashed there. I seen a hole in the ground with some smoke. Wasn't no chairs, wasn't no engine, wasn't no bodies. And people posted that and said, oh my God, a crash. I don't know what's wrong with a lot of people versus people like us. And I want to be and, and then and he cut and ran. He's gone. Yes, it's not. It's not. And people are creatures of habit. We don't all do something different in times of fight or flight. Listen, it seemed like he was in a race. As soon as you heard the gun go pop, and I didn't hear a gunshot, I heard a clap. But as soon as that clap happened, he turned around and was racing. He was speed walking. He didn't go check on Charlie. You know what's crazy? None of these people even acted like there was a possible active shooter. They acted like it's like they knew it was one and done. How did you know it was one and done? Nobody was looking up at the ceiling, and how did you not see somebody perch? There was nobody on the roof. Tyler Robinson didn't do this. Tyler Robinson is innocent. Tyler Robinson will be exonerated. Do you know what they have as evidence against him? They have a signed affidavit. They have nothing, no physical, no residue. Matter of fact, he was at McDonald's, I think, with his parents the next 2 days later, and they said, you know what? He kind of looks like he walks like our son. People won't play any videos of Tyler Robinson talking to the camera or hanging out with his friends because he's heavily autistic. His mom had to coach him when he was reading that acceptance letter on, and you can find it on Twitter. He's reading his college acceptance letter, and he doesn't really know what to make of it. And he's like, yay, but he's alive, but he's not all the way there. He's autistic. And one of the characteristics is they don't understand nuance. Like, if you ever noticed Rampage Jackson's son, Raja, also heavily autistic. So that's why when Rampage would make a joke, he would just stand there and he doesn't understand. He's like, you don't like being my father. But Rampage was making a joke. So when the guy, Psycho Stu, was playing like he's hitting him with a fake can, he doesn't understand that this is a joke and it's all for fun. He's not all the way there. For them to now be weaponizing these autistic young men, it's not just these two guys that are losing their minds publicly. They're saying that was also the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania. They're also going back to all these recently trans shooters. Remember, the kids who they convert to be trans and gay are the autistic kids that are socially awkward. They tell you, well, maybe your kid isn't socially awkward because they're autistic. Maybe they're just gay. Maybe they're just trans. And then when you put a dress on them and clap, and then they reaffirm it. And that's how they manipulate these children, these kids who are vaccine damaged. That's where a lot of this autism comes from. And it slows down their learning ability. They snap out of it in their 30s, but they're usually about 10 years behind average kids. I've seen it. Yes, her mother and father both work in tech, and they worked on the Iron Dome of this amazing awesome country in the Middle East. They built the Iron Dome. It's amazing. Her family's rich. They live in the Hamptons, but yet she was all of a sudden, after she left Romania, she finds herself applying for a job as an intern in Phoenix, Arizona for TPUSA. You know what? I know she was playing sports at a school, but she lived in the Hamptons on the other side of the country. When Charlie Kirk called her after her interview a couple of days later, she was back in the Hamptons. Why is a girl who's so well off that she lives in the Hamptons applying for the job applying for an internship at TPUSA, and she's a former beauty pageant winner who owned her own nonprofit called the Romanian Angels, and she worked with Tyler Boyer before TPUSA even began. But people don't want to understand that certain women are good at certain jobs and they reassign them. Her next assignment was Charlie Kirk. Her next assignment after this is JD Vance. But they're giving her way too much exposure. People are starting to see through her, and the public don't like her. Men like her. If you look around, it's always male commentators that are giving her the benefit of doubt. It's the women that are seeing through her. The women are reading her body language, her eyes, and the women are saying this is BS and she's lying and she's fake. The men, because we're shallow and we like a cute little blonde, maybe she is just widowed. Maybe she is just sad. Maybe she's not lying, but the women are saying, no, this is fake. This is all staged. And I brought up some of these videos, and I did a thing called the Erika Kirk Truman Show. There's a video from 2019 where her and Charlie are doing their first time doing a sit-down interview when they got engaged. And she's sitting there, and let's not mince words. Charlie, a lot of people said he looked like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead, especially back then when he didn't have no money back then. So you see a girl that looks like Erika Kirk, a little blue-eyed, blonde, little small. Well, yeah, no, especially back then. So here she is saying, oh my God, I can't even look at him. If he comes here, I won't be able to speak. This is after they're already engaged. They've already been seeing each other. You're not meeting Leonardo DiCaprio or Chris Brown for the first time. It's your fiance, Charlie Kirk. it just shows you that she's theatrical. She was playing the hell out of this role because the only time a woman is going to act like that is when she's paid to act like that. Usha Vance is a real woman. She don't like JD. She get tired of him, roll her eyes. Now that's a wife. That's a real wife. There, because women ain't gonna. No woman is always happy with their man. But when you are seeing somebody and she's always happy to see you, like she's your pet, that's that. Now she's putting on a role. Now there's something going on. And Charlie was on the road over 300 days a year. When was he time? When was he having time to be your husband? That it wasn't a connection the way they say. So there's a lot of blind spots that people don't want to talk about because, like you said, they're emotionally invested in the story and they don't want to remove the emotion and look at the facts. And I fall out with people all throughout my life because I'm not emotional with them. I've never been. I'm a Capricorn. I don't have emotions. I don't really feel anything. I just go over. I'm a pragmatist. I look at logic and I think about things and whatever makes the most sense. But it's not based on how I feel about anything. I don't feel anything. It's just that's also yeah. You know what? Yeah, because for one thing, if you're autistic and you're carnal, if you're not carnal, it's hard to compromise them or to use somebody to manipulate them. So that's why a lot of people like putting women in certain positions because with a man, you can always honeypot them. Think about think about it. Think about how many men they're trying to say went to Epstein Island as politicians, not the scientists, because that's another part of the Epstein story people don't want to talk about from my research, the COVID vaccine was developed by the scientists, and that's what's in the Epstein files, which is why they have to keep them closed. That's the dates all match up. The politicians, the kids sect, that's only the surface. The real thing is all the black kids that they were trafficking from the West Indies, and after the earthquake in Haiti, they traffic all those black children for experiments, and that's why the vaccine is working on us so well. That's why all your favorite black people you're seeing are just dying left and right on the news, and we're just pretending that they're just overdosing or having just heart problems. There's a reason all this stuff came up. You know, I just lost two of my friends in LA, two girls in their 30s, and people are trying to convince me that they overdosed on weed. And I said they don't even smoke that much. It wasn't, it's I know what they did last summer. I remember that they had the I got my vax in their profile picture, you know. So now I'm seeing I share that a lot. If you go to my Instagram, right wing Rico or Safe and Effective podcast, that's my, you know, I share all the obituary stuff from people because that's what Facebook is now. It's not where people go to talk to their friends. You go there to keep score of how many of your friends have just died suddenly. And that's where I'm able to pull a lot of my data. And then I go through their records and I see if they announced they were vaccinated. They always did. I was doing a story about what's the black woman, the real pretty one, the anchor that was in Atlanta. She's in your neighborhood. Jovita Moore. And remember, her last picture alive was her getting vaxxed. She went into a coma that night. They didn't want you to know it was the vax. So this was the crazy thing. If you died less than 2 weeks after you took the shot, they declared you as unvaccinated because you have to be alive with the shot in your body for 2 weeks for you to be considered fully vaxxed. So 80% of the people that died within 2 weeks of taking the shot. DMX, just like Jovita, they died the same night. They died the same day. They died instantly. You know, it's crazy because I didn't take the shot. I had to get records from other people. They actually would not, they would give you an injection through a drive through. You weren't allowed to drive off for 15 minutes because they didn't want you to drive while you're on the freeway. They didn't want you to die while you were on the road. And I'm sitting here looking at people like, why are y'all in this drive through behind this abandoned Wendy's letting a stranger with black Air Force Ones and a mask on give you injections? When did everybody lose their minds, Blanche? You want to know why? You want me to tell you why? You want me to tell you why? They couldn't afford for discarded samples to get out into the public ahead of time because when they looked at it under a microscope, the things they saw in there, we don't know where it comes from. They found living creatures in those defrosted vials, but they also found what appears to be technology. It's like machines, nanotech building itself. Now, we're humans, right? We don't have machines that can build nano machines. When they talk about nanotechnology, they're talking about future tech 50 to 100 years from now. We don't have machines that can build nano sized machines. So we don't even know where all this stuff even comes from. We don't know where those jabs were synthesized. And they had 8 billion of them on standby. To even make 1 billion would have took 13 years. And that's even with factories all over the world. To make a billion doses, a billion is 1,000 millions. So that's a lot of manufacturing, putting something in a vial. They had 8 of them. Where'd they come from in that fast? It would have took years to make 1 billion. Where did you get 8 from? And nobody asked. Stimulated students, man. It's not just your boy. A lot of my friends like that. I lost my uncle. I lost 2 of my uncles and my step cousin the same exact way, bro. Like right after, right after. A matter of fact, a lot of people are passing in their cars and then they're crashing and they're blaming it on the car crash, not knowing that you died and then you crashed. People don't want to talk about that. It's yeah, 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 yeah. You're right. You're right. An actor died like that too. Man, have you guys been noticing how many actors every single day are just literally just dead, just gone? And it's a lot of black actors, a lot of them. Just, where the robots come from? Where they come from? Now you know what you're talking about, Vance. Remember, at the World Economic Forum, at that UN assembly, Boris Johnson was. We have nanotechnology that's going to your blood cells, and they will repair and do this and this. And then I'm like, okay, if you can put nanotechnology into somebody's blood to help them, you can put it in there to harm them too. You idiot! That's a horrible idea. I don't want nothing new. I'm just a human. I'm gonna live like a human. People want to keep trying to water the grass. They want to water grass with Gatorade. It doesn't work. You can't reinvent the wheel. Why do you think these other lifestyles and everybody trying to do everything different? It never works. Humans live a certain way. And when you're trying to introduce all this stuff, it all just leads to death and sickness. Bro, when you look at how many people now magically just have cancer. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't, I forgot the phrase and I forgot the verse, but you're right. I mean, yeah, you're my go to guy for the Bible verses. And I ain't going to lie, listening to you, I've actually been looking up different Bible verses and becoming more, and becoming more well versed and learning more because I watch all your content and I share it every day. So, and then they blocked me from sharing your content for a while. Like right now, I'm blocked from sharing your content. I don't know why. I can't share nothing. I use Opus clips. It lets me upload my Opus clips, but it won't let me copy a YouTube video and post it no more. I'm blocked for everything. I don't know why. It's crazy. Oh, absolutely. And they still put it in you. And they still put it in you. But you know what's crazy? I remember in 2020, they were already the same year in 2020 in California, They were already giving out experiments and doing and giving out the jab to people because they want to work in Hollywood. They told everybody at the beginning, you're going to have a false positive for HIV if you take it. Then all of a sudden now you got people popping up all over the country, black, especially like in black cities, talking about, oh, black people just got more AIDS than everybody. No, a lot of these people that are getting tested are people that also took the shot too. So they're all going to have a false positive for HIV because that was a part of the jab. They told you you will get a false positive. It's not because now these people are just having more sex in these cities than they did the year before. If you took the jab, you're going to have a positive, you're going to test positive for HIV. My question was, how you know it's false? How you know it's a false positive? Mm-hmm. You remember? You remember? Hey, yo, he's right. Oh. Yes, they threaten you that you're going to kill your grandma, you're going to kill my grandma. I said, look, if your grandma has to die, if your grandma requires me to donate my body to science while I'm still alive for her to live, you might well go kiss Big Mama goodbye because that's not happening. Yeah, you about to let Big Mama go. Stimulated students just made a point. He's absolutely correct. There is no such thing as HIV and AIDS. It's actually the what they're considering is AIDS has never been isolated. There was a man in France one time that in years in the 70s, he said he isolated and never shown any proof. Basically, what they do is there's about 10 to 15 known diseases that specifically attack the immune system. What they did was they combined all those diseases and they called them HIV and late stages AIDS. So any immune system issues, instead of you treating with immunotherapy, they want you to believe you have a novice virus called HIV. The retrovirus drugs that they created to treat it is what actually burned people's cells to death and killed them. But they charged you up the UYA for it. I tell people, it's all about money is the key of all of this. It's not the disease that kills you; it's the treatment. You know, a lot of people never even died of these diseases. They never knew they never had the disease until they went and got tested for it. I remember back in California in LA when I was a kid, there used to be like these HIV vans on Crenshaw. And it would be basically a person with a mask on and some scrubs. And you're sitting there letting a stranger put a needle into your arm, telling you they're testing you for something when they could have been giving you something. It's a shame that people are just so trusting and so gullible when you should know better by now that believe and trust nothing and no one ever. Question everything. Question everything. Glow. It glows. It glows under certain light. So they can tell who took the vax or not when you go through airports because they have special cameras that can detect the luciferase in your blood. Absolutely. Johnson never had it. There's nothing. He never had nothing. He had financial aids. Yep. Yep. Nobody knows. But none of the women got it, but just magic. Absolutely. Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah, the you know what's crazy? My uncle back in the days, he they used to run around L.A. and L.A. And somebody approached him and said, "Look, I got a video of." He said, "I got a video of Magic and Jermaine. If you want to buy it." And my uncle's like, "Man, I don't want no video of them." And my uncle's like, "You know what? If I'd have got it back then, I could have sold it in the future." But you got to think about it. Being black and gay was I had never I didn't know there was a such thing as gay black people until I was probably in my 20s. That was a whole new concept. And Magic is what kind of made it go mainstream with it being possible. And that's when it started to come out. Because before then, you thought gay was only a white thing. And but think about it. They wanted to expand their euthanasia campaign. Remember, it was the treatment that killed all those people. Remember, Kanye talked about it. He said, if Magic, he says Magic Johnson got a cure for AIDS, but all the broke motherfuckers passed away. But you got to think about it. All the people that they were giving those drugs to, remember, Magic didn't take the retrovirus drugs. They gave him a special immunotherapy. Remember, Dr. Judy Mikovich talked about that. Remember when she destroyed Anthony Fauci? She brought up Magic Johnson. That was a big thing back in the 80s. So it was all scheduled and it worked. They killed off a lot of people, but they needed to kill off more. Our population of 13% is going to be about 3% at the rate we're going by 2030. I'm pretty sure because you got to think about it. We're past the rate of replacement. We don't have kids anymore. And if it's also giving you cancer, you're not going to get pregnant. I don't know anybody having children that like that no more. I know a couple people that just had a baby, but it used to be everybody in relationships would get pregnant, have baby. I don't even see kids. I haven't seen a baby in probably 2 years. I don't even know anybody with kids anymore. Not that are newborn. And I know a couple of people that are I don't even know. I know one unvaccinated couple because both of the parents during the lockdown were in jail and they didn't get vaxxed in jail, and they just had a kid. They both free. But I mean, everybody else I know that went out and took it. I don't know any of my friends that took it that have kids that are new. I don't. I don't know anybody of my friends that are not complaining about having health issues right now. One of my best friends, he's in the military, and I begged him not to do it, but he's in the military, he couldn't really say no according to him. And now he calls me and he was like, "Man, we got to start being careful." I'm like, "What you mean?" He's like, "Man, our health, we got to start." And I was like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Man, I'm having all these different issues." I said, "I'm not having none. I'm fine." So, we know why it's so bad because for bodybuilders especially. So this is my whole. What's amazing, Blanche? If I would even mumble this on social media years ago, they would have kicked me. They would have kicked my channel, struck me, and wiped me. They would have wiped. They wiped my whole channels. Now I can openly talk about it because the HHS secretary is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Is John Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So RFK Jr. is the reason why we can openly talk about this on the internet because it's now public knowledge. Is it shedding? Oh, who was vaccinated. I no, I said I actually put in measures. I screen anybody I'm dating. You know how many girls I had to kick out of my house because they admitted that they took the shot? There was a girl, me and her was on the way back to my house. She told me she took it. I pulled over and put her out. I stayed with my ex-girlfriend who was abusive as hell, used to beat me up. Her little yellow ass used to whoop me. I stayed with her because she didn't take the jab. I had to literally endure that because it was too risky to just be out there dating. And then so many people kept making excuses. My grandma is sick. I want to go visit Mexico. I want to go to Hawaii. I said, why do y'all? So you telling me you willing to risk dying for some tacos and some coconut water? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then people will lie to you about taking the jab because it's no longer cool to brag about it because now the new information is coming out that it is deadly. They put a black label on it and they don't want to tell you the truth. The truth is there is the eggs of a creature and that's why they had to freeze it and it defrosts it inside your body and it grows and that's what's causing the organ damage, the blood. It's not even a blood clot, it's a blood clog because this organism, this Hydra vulgaris, is growing in your body and it's clogging your arteries. It's damaging your heart. It's growing throughout. It's not supposed to be there. So it's causing, and a lot of people's bodies are just rejecting it because they don't want to be a host for this foreign entity, this alien creature that's in their bodies. So their bodies reject it and they die. But remember, if you watch Died Suddenly, that they can't, they're pulling this creature out of they can't even embalm you anymore because the embalming fluid won't go through your veins because this thing that's not supposed to be there that was implanted in you with a needle is now growing inside you. Look it up. It's called Died Suddenly. It's on Rumble. They wouldn't put it on YouTube. So now, listen. I have the prequel to Died Suddenly. It's a video with a woman named Dr. Carrie Madej. She was on Stu Peters. She's the first one that actually got samples and looked at it under a microscope. That's why they had to squirt it inside of a piece of fruit. They could not discard nothing with enough of a sample in there for you to study it. They didn't want anybody to know. See, now they don't care. It's too late. It's already in you. Nothing you can do about it. Who are you going to arrest? Who you gonna protest? It's too late. The damage is done. So now we can talk about it freely because we're not giving medical advice. We're just talking about the consequences. So it's already too late. And absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And the thing is, I knew that this was something that could be sexually transmitted because they were advertising it on the BLK website for dating. And they were letting you put your vaccine status and they were like promoting it. But when you go to Christian Mingle, it wasn't on there. When you go to these other dating websites for other races, it wasn't there. But for the black website, it was there. But then you start keeping score. There was no white or celebrities. There was no Asian celebrities doing a roundhouse kick of a needle. No Mexican celebrities putting a sombrero on a needle and dancing. But they had rappers making songs called "Vax That Thing Up." You see Tyler Perry talking about the gangster spike proteins with that bullshit black doctor who's sick right now. And then basically the whole marketing campaign was targeted at black people. They brought black people into every aspect of it. They only specifically wanted it to go to black people. I remember watching people of other races begging for it and getting mad because they didn't have access to it. But nobody in the hood found it hard to get access to the J&J or Moderna. Nope, not a one. So when I tell so when I tell people, when you're 60% of the population, if you experience a mass die off, your people can recover. But when you're only 13%, you do not have that luxury. That's why I said this was something specifically to wipe down one group. And I have the evidence because I remember the kids they experimented on. They brought white kids for the whole sex stuff. But when you look at the kids they experimented on that they brought from Haiti, West Africa, the Caribbean, and they had a big group of them that came after the earthquake. A lot of y'all don't remember the earthquake of, I think it was 2005 in Haiti and Port-au-Prince. And there was a lot of orphans. Those orphans was going to Epstein Island. They were doing experiments. People rarely talk about there were 1,000 different scientists that worked on Epstein Island, and he had an office at MIT. He had an office at some of these prestigious universities. Even after his sexual conviction in 2006, he had an office up until 2019 in the science labs of these schools. And they never want to tell you what they were experimenting and working on all these years and that it was successful. So successful that it seems like Bill Gates stabbed him in the back and took his research. And Bill Gates is taking credit for the results. That's why Bill Gates wants to block out the sun. See, they used cloud seeding and they blocked out the sun for 2 years in California. We had nonstop rain. We had our first tropical storm. It was cloudy for 2 years, and you saw all these people sick and dying. The sun is what kept the effects of the jab from killing you, the sun exposure, but being in the dark. That's what the removal of natural sunlight, it kind of amplified the effects. So that's why you're noticing in California so much more death than you're noticing in other parts of the country. If they could just block out the sun for everybody, you'll get the same results. But see, other states have outlawed cloud seeding since then. Tennessee, Texas, Florida, they've outlawed, and Georgia too. They're outlawing it because they don't want you to do cloud seeding because it would just amplify the effects of the jab. This is all science, but it's all meant to reduce the population. I tell people, even the LGBTQ, the gay agenda is a population reduction agenda. Those people don't have kids. If they can convince your kids to be gay, you won't have grandkids. It's all depopulation. Everything is just to remove us. And it's been working. Distraction, distraction everywhere. Now, I mean, listen, the closest you'll get to any type of normalcy is if you're able to escape to Pennsylvania to an Amish community, or if you go to a country in the world that is so poor They don't have the electrical infrastructure to do any of this nonsense. All of this stuff requires electricity. It requires power to build these towers, to push the mass surveillance, to do the mass media. To all this stuff requires energy. And in other parts of the world, they never even bothered giving them injections. They don't have the electrical infrastructure to set up what's required to push any of this stuff. These developed, they're wiping out the entire populations of these developed nations, not those poor ones. That's why they're trying to bring the poor ones here to wipe them out. They're mass migrating people from the poor parts of the world to here because they want to poison them too. That's all it is. I mean, they're bringing them here because this is where they're able to have access to you and to push their agendas. But if you go to other parts of the world, they don't have the luxury. But one other point I wanted to bring up too was when you, because it was based on what you were just talking about, territory. I want to know why there was never any overlap when you went to go get a shot at a site. There's AstraZeneca, Moderna, J&J, whatever. How did they divide up? So it's like they must have had a map and they must have decided who was going to get what territory since there was never any overlap. So how did they decide which communities got which injections? They definitely planned it a certain way, and certain shots went to certain people. I want to see that map. I want to know who got what and why. I know this for sure. I know the childhood vaccine schedule that they were giving to kids at King Drew Hospital in England in Watts is different than the childhood vaccines they give the kids over at Kaiser. I know they don't give you. It's not one size fits all. You used to have 135 different shots they give kids. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He discovered with Dell Bigtree they never safety tested any of those childhood vaccines, and he won the lawsuit. So 40 years almost, and they never gave one safety test to those shots. So the truth is, Blanche, we don't even know if vaccines even exist. We've never been able to test any of the vaccines. We don't even know what's in them. We don't know what they do. We don't even know if vaccines exist. So that's why I tell people it's all junk science because you can't verify it. Science requires experimentation, but also it has to be an agreed upon conclusion. If me and you do the same experiment in different places and we get the same results, we can say it's a fact. Independently, we can't verify anything on those vials. There's no testing kit. You're just blindly letting them put it into your child, and then you wonder why he has all these emotional issues and learning disabilities. His brain is swelling. He looks normal, but his brain, and it hurts to think. And they did that to a lot of our kids because Robert F. Kennedy also discovered that whatever's in these injections is testosterone reactive, the same as that creature that's in the COVID-19. It synthesizes testosterone. It grows based off of it. That's why it grows in men and it's killing off a lot of men. You rarely see it hurt women. So that's why I told people the best thing you could do if you took the shot, get on an estrogen regimen until further notice because the testosterone is what's killing it, amplifies it and kills it. I tell people the booster shot is nothing more than a testosterone injection. They're feeding the creature. If it doesn't hurt you fast enough, they feed it to make it grow, and then people expire after they get that booster. My science is sound. I just didn't have enough audience because I kept getting kicked off of social media until now. But now I'm back. So, better late than never, right? Gotcha. Anytime. Man, it's a lot going on. Blanche, this is me and you, bro. We go back some years, and we have so much to talk about. Like, right, even when we get off live right now, I have four other videos I got to do tonight about different topics, and I gotta, So I mean, there's a lot going on. There's no slow days in media right now. I mean, there's news articles, there's health. I got a lot of different topics to talk about, so I'm about to be on here all night. So anytime you're available, bro, you can always invite me. I'm always happy to come on and talk to you, brother. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm on YouTube. It's right wing Rico or the single boyfriend. The single boyfriend is my primary page. Because I talk about relationship stuff, but I also talk about the politics and everything. I wear this red MAGA hat because even though I don't always agree with Trump, I'm from California, so I saw what happens when you let Democrats take control. I can never let the United States go back into the hands of the people that did that to my once beautiful, amazing state. So because of that, I always wear a MAGA hat so I don't forget what happened and how I got here. I mean, I was jumping state to state looking for freedom. Found it in Texas. Love Texas. Will probably one day die defending Texas. Until then, I'll make my stand by talking to people and sharing information and having these conversations. People don't want to talk anymore. They literally shut up Charlie Kirk because they felt it necessary to remove a man's tongue. So that just shows you how important it is. Look at Candace Owens, the most powerful woman on earth right now. The entire world is afraid of her and what she can say. It just shows you the power of words. So that's why I felt like, and then look at people like Scott Adams dying from the jab, like a lot of other people on social media. So there's a big void that's coming. So people like Blanche and myself, we're gonna step in to fill these spaces. So we're here and talking. Oh yeah. Yeah, the single boyfriend on YouTube, or right wing Rico on YouTube. But I'm also right wing Rico on Instagram. Man, bro, I'm more than happy. I wanted to get into that actually too. I was. Yeah, because I've been in and out of my relationship. Is because again I was stuck with her because of the jab. Yeah, I mean, but I would meet people, but I had to screen the hell out of everybody. I didn't let nobody that was a liberal or a Democrat or anybody that took those shots come around me. And if I found out you had it, you couldn't come around me no more. That's my other one that I talk about just the COVID stuff. But my actual podcast IG is right wing Rico. That's why I didn't see that you had responded on the safe and effective. My bad, bro. I meant to get back to you sooner. Because I had messaged you. Yes, sir. That's on Instagram too. Yep, safe and effective podcast. And that's where I talk about everything from 2020 till now having to do with the shot. I share all the information, all the data, all the vaccine stuff. I just did another video on the VAERS study and how there was a 14-day rule of if you pass away less than 2 weeks after taking the second shot, then they didn't label you as a vaccinated death. They did that to manipulate you. They lied. They scammed us all of us. And nobody wants to talk about it no more. Everybody's shies away from it. They're nervous. They're hoping they can just bury their heads in the sand and forget about it. I'm not going to let anybody ever forget what happened during the lockdown. You know what's the scary part about scary about the women because of estrogen, they're not dying as fast from the shot, but they're spreading it to men whose testosterone amplifies it, and then the men are dying from it. So the women are actually going to be the last ones here. They're going to be here longer than everybody. That's why they keep showing you Black Panther Part 2, where it's basically just all women. They're showing you that in the future there's not going to be men around. That's why they're trying to convince women they can be men and all be. There's not going to be a lot of men around going forward because a lot of the men, the biggest and the strongest men that I knew that took the shot, they're dead now. All my friends that used to work out, you know how many friends that died of mine at the 24-hour fitness while they were hooping or lifting weights? I'm at over 20 something friends at the Ladera 24-hour fitness that literally died in the gym in the past year. People that I knew personally. Friends are dying. There's a girl who I used to date her. She moved back from Chicago and she was married. I was like, what the hell are you doing out here? She's like, yeah, I'm back in town. I'm like, yeah, my old man died. I'm like, your dad died, so you're out here visiting? She says, no, my husband. She had just got married. Her husband was 33 years old, playing basketball. He had just took it to keep a job. He had just, what's crazy about, I want to talk about that on the next episode. They started all of a sudden giving black people who were unqualified jobs and job offers, and they were offering you good money for jobs that you didn't really qualify for, only because they wanted to force you to get the vaccine to keep the job. That's why you see a lot of employed. Oh, hey, listen, I know this girl, right? She works for the IRS. She can hardly read or type. She sound ghetto as hell. She just got laid off like 6 months ago, right when Trump got back in office. They laid her off, and she was like, "You know what, Rico? I never met my supervisor." I said, "What do you mean?" She was like, "They hired me, and they just been paying me, and I don't have to check in. I'm just sending them my hours." I said, "Wait a minute. There's no what did you do?" She was like, "I don't know what I do. I've been here 2.5 years." Anyway, she realized that after about 6 months, where she's used to that money, because it changed her whole lifestyle, that government job. They asked her to go take the vaccine, but she's like, "I work from home. What do I need the shot for? I'm not even working in the office." What they did was, whatever amount of money they paid you at those jobs over that 2, 3 years you were working there, that was what the cost was for your life. They paid you to euthanize yourself. They bought your body from you. So whatever she earned, that 200 some thousand, was how much her life was worth, because that's all they only gave you the job to euthanize you. They only gave you the job to give you the shot. They only hired these people to give them the shot. Because think about it. A lot of black people are vaccine hesitant. You would have to literally pay them, but you couldn't do it's money laundering if you give them direct cash. So you had to give them a fake job for a made up position with no supervisor. And people were like, "Man, I'm losing my job." And they were like, "This is the easiest cold." No. So I don't know if you know who Hocus for Fifth is, right? But I was doing when I got kicked off of all my social media. All I had was Clubhouse, so I just started doing it. So me and him, we talked tens of thousands of people every night in those rooms, and there were people that would come to me personally, like girls I used to know, and they'll say, "Rico, they're threatening me. They're gonna fire me. Rico, they made me a manager as soon as I started here, and I have no idea why. I'm not even experienced." They are giving you these jobs because they want to inject you. So I told her, I said, "Look, if they fire you, tell me how much you make a week. I'll pay you that much until you get another job. I'll supplement your income." I would offer people that because I was so confident that they were never going to fire you, because that's illegal. To fire an American because you don't want to participate in an experimental medical procedure is illegal and unconstitutional, and you're gonna win when this is over. And they did. But you can sue though. And that's the issue. Had you been on it right when it happened, you'd be able to sue. But she worked it was a setup. They said they set you up. Damn. Hey, you missed the email. Oh man. Hey, bro, listen. Like they got a lot of people. Like I said, my friend, She said, Rico, I told, she's like, they never ended up firing me. They just threatened me. And I told them, you know what, if you're going to fire me, go ahead. She's like, they never fired me. And then soon as Putin did the invasion of the Ukraine, they dropped all the mandates where they're going to force you to take the shot. And she was like, they dropped it the next week and they ain't said nothing to me about it. I said, so you telling me you would have let them inject you with some experimental substance from God knows where, and all you had to do was just wait it out for another week? You know, a good friend of mine that was a comedian, he had 2 kids. He passed away about 3 months after taking it. But I remember talking to him online and I was like, bro, he was talking about going to Mexico and Hawaii. I said, because he was getting that PPP money. I think they gave people that money just so that you would travel and have to take the shot to come back into the country. Remember, you were going, even to go to Hawaii, you had to take the shot. And I think they bought everybody's body because they gave people money because they wanted you to have to use it and go do things. And you would need those injections to get around. I seen the play, Blanche. They tricked everybody, bro. I know y'all, my bad. I know we got to go. You let me know when you get some time, bro. I'm here for the conversation. Oh yeah, man. I ain't gonna lie. Instead of partying, I'd rather just sit here and make videos. That's why we ain't got my professional microphone, and I got to get a different camera. I'm using this phone, but I'm doing this now. I just like sitting up here and chopping it up and talking to the people. That's it. And I didn't realize how many people actually want to have these conversations. You know, I mean, this is important. I mean, you're doing God's work, Blanche. So I appreciate you even talking to me and bringing me on, bro. Okay, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Remember, America first, America only. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, bro, this is I'm not gonna lie. When people play this video back, matter of fact, let me end my live too, because I got a bunch of people that are in here. Hey, listen, everybody, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I'll be back on Rumble in about 45 minutes, and I'll see you guys again shortly. Follow my friend Blanche. He is Blanchard on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. Well, Instagram, YouTube, and he's on Rumble. He is Blanchard, one of the best content creators you're gonna follow. His content is amazing. He's super inspirational, super smart, well grounded, believes in God, a Christian, and a patriot. So make sure you follow him for more content. And I mean, I follow him. So I mean, that's one of my biggest shout outs. Hey, Blanche, thank you, bro, for being here on mine too. I appreciate you guys. I'll be back shortly.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.